one white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another.
Imagine a league where the commissioner values rivalries over player safety, where marketing trumps fair play, where there is blatant neglect on officiating and inconsistent refereeing. Welcome to Cathy Engelbert's WNBA. Here's 10 times she blatantly sabotaged Caitlin Clark and the entire WNBA. Ask yourself, does she deserve to be fired?
There are a lot of people online who are talking about, oh, Cathy Engelbert needs to be fired.
Caitlin Clark's rookie season was nothing short of spectacular. She broke 62 records, dazzled fans, and brought new energy to the league. But behind the scenes, a different story was unfolding. While Clark was making history on the court, WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert was busy mismanaging the league off it. This isn't just about one player, it's about a league at a crossroads. On one side, we have incredible athletes pushing the boundaries of the sport. On the other, an administration that seems determined to hold them back. What you're about to see is a definitive list of Engelbert's failures. By the end, you'll be questioning if the WNBA can survive with her at the helm. Before we break it down, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Are you ready to see just how deep this goes?
Do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like, the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry.
The WNBA's problems run deep, but nothing prepared fans for Engelbert's next move. On a major news program, she revealed a stance so controversial it left the basketball world reeling. How did a single TV appearance become a turning point in the fight for the league's soul? Picture this: CNBC's Power Lunch, a show where business meets the spotlight. Enter Cathy Engelbert, WNBA commissioner, ready to discuss the league's future. But instead of addressing player safety concerns, she drops a bombshell that has everyone questioning her priorities. What makes people watch is compelling content and rivalries, Engelbert declared, her focus clear as day. She wasn't talking about fair play or protecting the athletes. No, her mind was on viewership, on drama, on turning players into characters in her grand marketing scheme.
Social media is different today than it was in 1979 when it didn't exist. But, I always tell the players, I was told a long time ago, if someone's typing something in and you wouldn't ask their advice, ignore it. So it's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players.
The backlash was swift and fierce. Players took to social media, calling out Engelbert's disregard for their well-being. Fans echoed their outrage, demanding answers. How could the league's top official care more about storylines than the safety of the very women who make the WNBA possible? This wasn't just a slip of the tongue. It was a revealing moment that exposed the disconnect between the league's leadership and its players. While stars like Caitlin Clark were pushing their bodies to the limit on the court, Engelbert was busy plotting how to spin their rivalry for ratings. As the spotlight shone on rivalries, the shadows on the court grew darker. How did a single moment of unchecked aggression become the tipping point for player outrage? The answer lies in plays so controversial, they still echo through arenas today.
Kennedy Carter now with 12 points off the bench.
First, a startling fact. Did you know that Clark was on the receiving end of 17% of all flagrant fouls called in the league? Think about that for a second. Out of 144 players in the WNBA, one player took the brunt of those hits, and that doesn't even account for all the times flagrant fouls weren't called. That number could easily be twice as high. And Cathy Engelbert? Silence.
And I think you're basically lying if you're saying what Caitlin Clark did and Angel Reese did are the same thing. They're not.
But here's the reality. These aren't isolated incidents. Time and again, Caitlin Clark found herself on the receiving end of dangerous plays, with little to no consequence for the offenders. The message? In Engelbert's WNBA, the show must go on, even if it means compromising player safety. And guess what? The flagrant foul fiasco doesn't end there. There are many incidents where Caitlin went down, but the referees never called anything. Remember Alyssa Thomas?
Take another look here at the heavy contact.
Remember the Seattle Storm? And more recently, remember the eye poke?
As everyone else has seen this angle. I'm calling her in, and I'm saying to her, I need answers.
This pattern of neglect didn't just endanger players, It undermined the very foundation of the game. How can athletes give their all when they're not sure if the next hard foul might end their season? Or worse, their career. The message was clear. In the pursuit of compelling content, player well-being had become collateral damage. While players dodged dangerous fouls, another threat loomed larger. Picture a game where the rulebook becomes a suggestion, and every whistle could change the course of a season. How did inconsistent officiating turn the WNBA into a nightly lottery, with championship dreams hanging in the balance? The 2024 season became a masterclass in officiating chaos. One game, a player could breathe on an opponent and get called for a foul. The next, they could practically tackle someone without hearing a whistle. This wasn't just frustrating, it was changing outcomes.
Tiffany Hayes, who really packed a punch off the bench, and there's the second foul on Clark. And they gave her a technical.
How come when Caitlin Clark gets hit with excessive contact, fouls are not called? But when she slaps the rim padding, instant technical foul. And let's not get into the "it's in the rulebook" debate. Here's Diana Taurasi doing the exact same thing, but no technical was given. Why does there seem to be a double standard on officiating when it comes to Clark?
Off the pass, and Diana Taurasi, they'll count the bucket. And Antoine coming up for DT.
And through it all, Cathy Engelbert watched from her ivory tower. No meaningful changes, no accountability for officials. While the integrity of officiating crumbled, another disaster was brewing behind the scenes. The WNBA's Golden Goose was set up to fail from the start. 11 games in 20 days? For a rookie that just came off a historic college run a mere few weeks prior? Who approved this madness? And did they have any idea what they were risking? If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. We know watching this video takes some of your time, and we appreciate you. Now back to the action.
Cathy Engelbert screwed over Caitlin Clark more than anyone else. Said she didn't, literally put Caitlin Clark to the gauntlet because she didn't think Caitlin Clark,
Caitlin Clark's first-month WNBA schedule wasn't just tough, it was a recipe for burnout. The league's newest superstar found herself facing a gauntlet that would make even seasoned veterans wince. Back-to-back games became the norm, with Clark and her team crisscrossing the country at a dizzying pace. Compare this to other rookies or even established stars, and the disparity is shocking. While most players had time to recover between games, Clark was thrust into a non-stop cycle of play, travel, and minimal rest during her first 2 months in the league. The physical toll, immense. The mental strain, even worse.
One of the marketing offices, they essentially admitted, I'm not going to quote, but they, a roundabout way admitted, they gave Caitlin Clark the gauntlet schedule because they didn't think she was going to be good, and they wanted her to get destroyed through 10 games so that people started watching the other players. If anyone, she screwed over Caitlin more than anyone else.
Think about it. How can a player perform at their peak when they're constantly exhausted? Clark's incredible talent was being pushed to its limits, and fans started to notice. Her energy levels fluctuated. The spark that made her a college phenomenon was being systematically drained, and when she finally had a break mid-season, the results became mind-blowing. Was she set up to fail from the start? Caitlin just let her greatness shine through. And where was Cathy Engelbert during all of this? Apparently, she was too busy promoting rivalries to notice that she was running her biggest star into the ground.
These fans came to Central Indiana from Newfoundland, Canada? And you're here why?
Just to see the Beaver game. Caitlin Clark.
As if the scheduling nightmare wasn't enough, Engelbert's next move left basketball fans speechless. In just a few seconds on primetime TV, she managed to downplay the importance of the very player who was skyrocketing the WNBA's popularity. What was she thinking? 60 Minutes, one of the most watched news programs in America. Cathy Engelbert, front and center, ready to talk about the future of the WNBA. But instead of praising the league's rising star, she drops a bombshell that has fans questioning her judgment.
I noticed when you're asking about Caitlin a lot, you bring up other rookies as well.
No league's ever about one player. That player could get hurt or whatever. So I think it's just to give recognition that in sports, people watch for compelling content and rivalries. And you can't do that alone as one person.
No league's ever about one player, Engelbert stated coldly. That player could get hurt or whatever. The dismissive tone was unmistakable. It wasn't just what she said, but how she said it. As if Caitlin Clark's impact was nothing more than a fleeting moment in the league's history. But let's look at the facts. Clark wasn't just breaking records. She was shattering them. 62 records in her debut season alone. TV ratings through the roof. merchandise flying off the shelves. Clark wasn't just a player, she was a phenomenon. Engelbert's words didn't just ring hollow, they exposed a fundamental disconnect between the league's leadership and its new generation of stars. How can the WNBA grow when its own commissioner fails to recognize the transformative power of its brightest talents?
History for the Fever rookie.
Just when you thought things couldn't get more perplexing, the WNBA's promotional machine kicked into high gear and promptly stalled. As playoff fever gripped fans across the nation, one question echoed through arenas and social media alike: where's Caitlin? The WNBA's playoff promotional materials hit the streets, billboards, and screens. But something was off. The league's most electrifying superstar, the one breaking records left and right, was nowhere to be seen. Caitlin Clark, the player who had fans buying tickets in droves, had somehow become invisible in the league's biggest marketing push. Look at this poster. And while we love Kelsey Mitchell, they clearly missed the mark in not pushing Clark in their marketing efforts. Caitlin could have had a whole poster on her own. Fans noticed, and they weren't happy. Social media lit up with outrage and confusion. How could the league ignore its newest superstar? The disconnect between what fans wanted to see and what the WNBA chose to promote was glaring. This marketing mishap didn't just affect Clark, it represented a missed opportunity for the entire league. With viewership and attendance on the rise, capitalizing on Clark's star power could have pushed those numbers even higher. How can a commissioner neglect such a potentially savvy business move? I mean, you're not protecting your players, you're not ensuring fair officiating, and now you can't even market your biggest star?
We all realize where the credit needs to be given as far as the success of this WNBA season. Caitlin Clark came in and made such an impact on how many people started to care about the WNBA. This was the highest viewed season in the history of the league.
The WNBA's next misstep took things to a whole new level of absurdity. When it came time to crown the Rookie of the Year, you'd think they'd pull out all the stops. Instead, they reached for the phone. What happened next had everyone questioning the league's priorities. Caitlin Clark, the superstar phenom, learned she won the award through a simple phone call. No confetti, no ceremony, just a quick congrats over the line. It's like winning an Oscar and getting the news via text message.
You just have somebody that wants to say a couple things really quick.
So hi, Coach Sides. This is WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Do we have the team all together?
Hello. Hey, yes, ma'am.
What a record-breaking season for you and the entire team, full of outstanding performances.
Nice.
Congratulations, Caitlin. You are the 2024 Kia WNBA Rookie of
This isn't how it's supposed to go down. In other leagues, winning Rookie of the Year is a big deal. There's usually a press conference, a trophy presentation, maybe even a special segment during a game. But for Clark, the WNBA decided a phone call was good enough. They could have done it during Game 2 against the Connecticut Sun. Even if it was an away game, we know a lot of Fever fans show up in opposing arenas. This wasn't just about Clark, it was about what the WNBA stands for. Do they truly value their players? Do they understand how to create moments that captivate fans and grow the sport? Or are they so out of touch that they can't even recognize when they have a golden opportunity right in front of them? The disrespect shown to Clark hinted at deeper problems within the league, but no one could have predicted the extreme steps some players would soon be forced to take. What invisible threat had WNBA athletes living in fear?
After a fan heckled her mid-game, she complained to officials, and it's clear they understood Clark's concerns as they escalated the matter to security, and the man was briefly pulled aside.
As the 2024 season unfolded, a disturbing trend emerged. WNBA stars, including Caitlin Clark, found themselves facing threats beyond the basketball court. The intensity of rivalries and social media scrutiny led to an alarming increase in online harassment and real-world safety concerns. Suddenly, these professional athletes weren't just worried about their next game. They were looking over their shoulders off the court too.
Now security is going to have a conversation with that gentleman.
The situation became so dire that some players took matters into their own hands, hiring personal security to ensure their safety. This wasn't just about dealing with overzealous fans. We're talking about legitimate fears for personal well-being. And where was the league in all this? Seemingly nowhere to be found. The Players Association raised red flags, demanding action to create a safer work environment. But Cathy Engelbert's response? Radio silence. No public statements addressing player safety concerns. No visible changes to league security protocols. Just business as usual while her athletes lived with constant anxiety. How can you expect athletes to perform at their best when they're constantly worried about their safety? And what does it say about a league that can't, or won't, protect its most valuable assets?
And the Fever are going to be over 200,000 higher than the next highest total attendance in league history.
Clarkonomics, my friend!
While players grappled with safety issues, the WNBA was about to confront a different kind of threat. As Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever exited the playoffs, television ratings took a nosedive. The impact was immediate and undeniable. During the regular season, Clark's games were breaking viewership records left and right. Fans couldn't get enough of her electrifying play. But when the Fever were eliminated, it was like someone flipped a switch. Playoff ratings plummeted, leaving league executives scrambling for answers.
But is that going to be a headline when they dip when she's not playing? And now they have to go through the postseason. They're going head-to-head with the NFL. We pointed that out yesterday, which isn't smart.
The numbers don't lie. Games featuring Clark consistently drew millions of viewers. Without her, the league struggled to maintain even half that audience. It's a stark reminder of how much star power matters in professional sports.
Now that Indiana is out and Caitlin Clark is out. So it's not a good thing for the WNBA. Ratings will go way down, but ratings will remain up as opposed to a year ago without Caitlin Clark in the league at all. So the WNBA is still going to be able to sell to everyone that it's an improving product, and I think that's probably true.
This ratings roller coaster exposes a major flaw in Engelbert's strategy. By failing to nurture and protect rising stars like Clark, the WNBA risks alienating its growing fan base. It's not just about one player. It's about building a sustainable product that can thrive even when individual stars aren't on the court. The financial implications are huge. Lower ratings mean less advertising revenue, smaller TV contracts, and ultimately, less money to invest in player development and league growth. It's a vicious cycle that threatens the very future of women's professional basketball. The WNBA stands at a crossroads. Cathy Engelbert's leadership has left a trail of missteps that threaten the league's future. From prioritizing rivalries over player safety to dismissing Caitlin Clark's impact, her decisions have put the WNBA on shaky ground. We've seen inconsistent officiating, dangerous play ignored, and a schedule that unfairly pushed players to their limits. Marketing blunders left star players invisible, while safety concerns forced athletes to hire their own security. The result? Plummeting ratings and a fan base questioning the league's direction. It's clear the WNBA needs new leadership, one that values player safety, fair play, and smart marketing. The league's potential is enormous, but it needs someone who can harness that power. For the sake of the players, the fans, and the future of women's basketball, it's time for Engelbert to step down. The game deserves better. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.